flag is out, 25 to go here at Phoenix. Logano way down on the bottom of the apron. Truex will stay high.
They are still absolutely side by side for the lead. Martin Truex Jr., Joey Logano, and they stack up full wide for the third spot.
Hamlin hangs on to third. William Byron, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Larson, side by side by side. 3 wide up the back, straight away for the 5th spot. All of this racing behind leader Martin Truex Jr., who has been able to get away by a couple of car lengths over Joey Logano.
White flag is flying here at the Phoenix Raceway. The Instacart 500 Truex across the line, headed to turn 1 for the final time.
Final time, into the corner. He look at the inside of B.J. McLeod. Nothing doing there. It's clean and green for Martin Truex Jr. He leads the field off of turn 2.
Takes the Bass Pro Toyota off of turn 2 for the final time at the front of the field in Phoenix. It's Martin Truex Jr., the race leader, into turn 3 all by himself at the point.
Here he comes up off of turn number 4. Checkered flag in the air, and Martin Truex Jr. wins the Instacart 500 at Phoenix Raceway. 5 races in 2021, 5 different winners to start off the season.
Man, I can't really believe it. I'm kind of speechless. This feels pretty amazing, you know. Phoenix has been a tough one for us, and to come here and win this, I wish it was November, but you know, hopefully we can come back here in November and have a shot at being in the Final Four.
Well, those were the sounds of Phoenix this last Sunday, where Martin Truex Jr. went to victory lane for the 28th time in his career. Welcome to NASCAR America Motormouths. And the Motormouths today, Steve Letarte alongside Kyle Petty, DJ Dale Jarrett, the Hall of Famer. Guys, 5 races in, we saw a Florida swing, then a little West Coast swing. It was exciting to see that action. Those restarts were crazy out in Phoenix. But let's talk about the winner to start. Truex got it done in the end. What were your thoughts?
That Truex got it done in the end. and in the beginning and in the middle. I mean, he was
That's
coming.
not fair, though. Logano was there, too.
Okay, Logano was there. And listen, I just need to tag real quick. NASCAR, we're not taking calls today. Okay, so I apologize for that.
We'll get there.
But we'll get there eventually. But, you know, I think Truex has been, to me, Truex has been a car that has gained every race. If we go to Daytona, if we go back to the road course, he's coming, he's coming, he's coming. Something happens. He's coming, he's coming. I kept waiting yesterday for something to happen in that last segment. Yeah. I mean, because he was coming. I mean, we heard him talk about it on the TV 2 or 3 times. Some of the fastest laps out there, even though Logano was running out front, even though that Brad Kay, and even though that Ryan Blaney had a really good race. It was good to see him have a good race. You look at that and you say, but he's coming. He's coming. This time he finished it, and that for me, that was the big thing yesterday.
Really, it was I think that's the emotion at the end is what really changed it for me. I guess I've heard so many winners get out who have won 28 times. Man, another great race. I'd like to thank my sponsors, my team, my this. We had a lot of emotion this year because we saw some new guys in victory lane. Yeah. But then Truex, he got out. Man, I won't say it sounded like his first, but it sounded like he had been longer than it really has. I mean, he seemed to kind of relish in the ability to win another race.
Yeah, I think there are 2 things that when I look at it is that you got into the wall early on. And I think that I know that he felt like, because in that first segment, they finished 17th. Of course, they took time to make those repairs at that point in time. Took a lot of time to do that and get the car right. And then he made his march back through. Yeah. So he's really good. And I'm always amazed at us drivers that we're never have. So he's already thinking about and talking about, he wish he could do that in November. Enjoy March, man. Right. You got it done in March. I used to say the same thing at Darlington, where I was fortunate to win the spring race, but I could never win the Southern 500. So we're never happy and satisfied, but it was a great day for him and that team.
But part of the emotion, too, is this, and I think Dale can speak to this, and you can speak to it as a crew chief, anybody who's been there. When you get a look at a win, and it doesn't happen. When you get another look at a win and it doesn't happen, and you get another look and you think, it's not going to happen, man. When's it going to come again? I think the emotion of these first 3 or 4 races and the latter part of last year, he was getting looks at wins, but they weren't coming. They weren't coming. All of a sudden, you've run 6 or 7 races going back to last year, and now you've done it.
So I almost felt like this was a non-Truex style win. And listen, I don't know what the stats say. But when Truex wins, he dominates, right? Like, I mean, I think back to the 600. I think he led 1,000 miles in a 600-mile race. He did. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Yes, he did.
But this was not Logano's to lose, but Logano led the most laps. He was one of the better cars. I don't remember other races where Truex kind of shows up on the final restart to take the win. Because remember, he had led throughout the day, but he took this race over that lap 288 restart, got past Logano, led to the finish. So I guess that's my point, DJ. It's a little bit different. Right here, up until this restart right here, Logano has really led the race. And I loved where he was right here, basically on pit road exit. But the 19 storms around the outside, and it's kind of game over from here.
Yeah, and that was a great job for the restart for Truex there, because every time we had seen the car that was in control of the restart get down to that inside and look like they were going into the garage area and make a hard left there, but it always was an advantage. But Truex did a great job, and then staying on his door, and you can see the 22 get loose, and Truex is right there. I tell you one thing that I watched, and then as I looked over the final rundown more, that made me realize why it was taking Truex so long. If you look at the top 13 finishers, they're all winners in the Cup Series. So he was having to battle a lot harder with that. And then you look a little further, that when you look at the final standings of the top 11, there's only 2 other drivers that got stage points outside of there. And that was in the first stage with Kyle Busch 6th and Matt DiBenedetto getting 10th. Everybody else was right there in that top 10 and 12 all day long, and it was so competitive through there. It was just amazing how they came and went.
I want to go one thing here, and you talked about the end of the race. My knock on Truex is he can't close. He gets close. I mean, we go back to, he dominates races when he wins, as you said. I go back to Daytona. The one that stands out in my mind is he loses at Daytona in July with the only car that hadn't been in a wreck. And Eric Jones beats him. You know what I mean? And it's like, how does that happen? You're the pole guy, you're controlling the start, and you lose that race. So many times we've seen that happen to him. He's interviewing, well, it'll come, it'll come. And it came yesterday against possibly one of the best restart guys, one of the best guys of taking control of a race, and when you give him a chance at it, enjoy Logano. So it was impressive. For me, it was an impressive win.
So you mentioned Logano. I want to get back to Logano because he did lead 143 laps, another second-place finish. But, DJ, you mentioned this, and I'm going to bring this up because we had McDowell at the 500, and then we had William Byron, and McDowell had a couple other good runs. But this race out in the desert, it was a heavyweight battle. And that's not to take away from anyone who has perhaps less experience, but let's just Truex, Logano, Hamlin, Keselowski, Chase, Harvick, Larson, Byron, Bell, Blaney. I mean, that's a who's who in the top 10 right there. And by the way, let's look at this. Gibbs, Penske, Hendrick, the lone Stewart-Haas car, and then circle back around again. A couple more Hendrick cars, a Penske car, a Gibbs car. So are we surprised that it took 5 weeks? Is this what we're going to continue to see? Like, where do you feel? Because this is the season that I was expecting to see, right? I mean, no offense to the other guys who found success, but not shocked that these are the top 10 names. These are the top 10 I expect to see a lot of. And to your point, the top 10 at Phoenix was stacked.
Yes. Kevin Harvick had a hard time, and he's won out there, is it 9 or 90 times? Something like that, you know?
Exactly.
But he had a hard time running 6th. And this is a guy that just owns that racetrack for the most part. And that just showed how difficult the competition was. I think we're going to see more of that because we're changing different types of tracks. We go to Atlanta coming up this weekend. And Kevin Harvick is going to be the man to beat there. Everybody knows that as they show up. So we're going to probably get a different winner there. But then we go to a dirt track and we've got road courses coming up. I think we're still going to see a lot of surprises in Victory Lane coming up. And it's hard as a driver. I've looked at this schedule and thought I would have a difficult time getting into a rhythm, going from the Daytona 500 on the oval, then you go to the road course, and then all of a sudden you start swinging other places, and things are so different that it makes it more difficult to get a mindset and a rhythm as to what you're doing each and every week.
So I'm going to throw a Richard Petty on you here. Okay, so he always said there were drivers that could go fast and there were drivers that could race. And when you found a driver that could go fast and race, then you had the guy, okay? And that's the way it was. He also said there's tracks and then there's racetracks. Phoenix is a racetrack. You have to drive that place. You don't just go out there and hit your marks. You have to drive that place. So the drivers rise to the top. And I think as we look at that top 10, the drivers came to the top when we look at that field. And that is indicative of what Phoenix has been always and should be.
Well, so you talk about drivers that rise to the top. Logano, 143 laps, runs second. I mean, I'd love to have some great storyline about how they should be worried or how they should be this. But Penske at the downforce tracks, what I consider the downforce tracks, 1 mile, 3/4 mile, I think they're going to be the team to beat at Richmond. They were good out at Phoenix. Not shocked to see Team Penske fast when they go out west.
Yeah. No, not at all. I think I was shocked that I think it was Vegas where things didn't go exactly like they wanted. But you're going to have certain times that things are going to change. But I think they've got a little work in keeping up with the track. Joey did a great job. He's been the one that these first few weeks that it seemed like as the track changed, they weren't keeping up very well. And I wondered, was that going to happen yesterday? But they were on top of it, making adjustments and keeping Joey up front. Pit crew doing a really good job of keeping him up there. And I think that made a real difference in what they were able to do and what he was able to do. And as you pointed out, I think you said that about being a great restart. That's what really surprised me. I thought that Truex, watching his car, might be the better car in this run at the end of it, but I thought that Joey was really going to make him work, and that was kind of surprising how he got the lead that quickly.
Yeah. Well, another name that had anything but an easy day was Kyle Larson. I actually would love to have seen if he could have started somewhere near the front row, but he started at the back to start the race, and then his speedometer was apparently broke because every time he came down pit road, he was going too fast. Let's start Larson as whole. Went to victory lane. We all know, sat out most of last year, tore up the dirt world.
Yep.
But that's fine. But this is NASCAR in the Cup Series. It's heavy. It's stock cars. It's this. Should we be surprised? Are we surprised? Not that he won, but, here he is, 7th again. You talk about the variety of tracks. Road course. He was really up front in all of them.
Okay, I'm not surprised. And because I'm going to go back to this, is another Richard Pettyism, okay, is losing becomes a habit and winning becomes a habit. You said it. He tore up the dirt world.
So you think that's fair? He can bring that momentum.
He brought it. He brought the confidence. He has that confidence again. When you see his interviews, he has that confidence he had when he first went to Ganassi's. He had that confidence that he had when he stepped into an Xfinity car. I think winning and the time away from this sport, and a couple of things, and we saw it with Kyle Busch when he came back. When you have something you love and you can't do it anymore, you appreciate it a lot more. I think he appreciates the second chance, the opportunity. At the same time, I think traveling all over the country and kicking butt on these short tracks and kicking butt on these dirt tracks has instilled in him, oh, this is what it's like to win. I want to go win. I'm going to go win races.
Winning's better than losing.
Yeah, winning's a lot better. You know what I mean? 36 races, I'm going to get my share of them this year. And I think he started the year, and to me, that's what I see. The confidence that he brings to that 5 car is why that 5 car is running. That's just me.
Yeah, he's just so talented. Yeah, you knew when it was announced that he was going to drive for Hendrick Motorsports, you had to know right then. But I think that, as you point out, the two biggest things are when you get a confidence about you. He's always had a confidence about him that he could do it, but he wasn't in the right spot to get it done on every week occasion. Now he's given that opportunity with the very best equipment that there is in the garage area, or nobody has better stuff. Yeah. He's got equal stuff there, and it's at the top of the list. And then that time that he had where you couldn't do what you really wanted to do, and sometimes it makes you realize even more how much, and when you get beat down and you have talent and can come back and get put in the right situation, that's a very dangerous person for the rest of the competition out there.
Over under, is he the absolute favorite heading to Bristol Dirt? He's got to be, right? Christopher Bell and Larson, are they your two favorites?
Yeah.
I don't
know.
For
sure. There is.
It's hard to pick an over and under on a gimmick race, so I can't.
Oh, man. Sorry, man. We're going to say that for now. All right, so you mentioned the name. We talked a lot about guys up front. One guy that was definitely missing from the front was Kyle Busch. Not good. Now, this is where I missed practice and qualifying. Here's why. Because if there was practice and qualifying, I could sit here with 100% confidence to say, man, they were definitely trying something, or they weren't, because they were good in practice. They went a different way. There would be more to the story. And I say that because what I don't know is, I don't have the ability to walk through the garage in COVID. I can't go talk to the crew chief in the middle of practice or after practice. So what I don't know is this just hey, we need to be better at Phoenix because we expect to be here to run a championship. We know what everybody else is running. We're going to run something else. Or is this no, we thought we were going to be fine and just flat missed it. And I couldn't tell through the interviews or the emotion on the radio. I don't know which it was. Now, the good news for him is, you know, we had a Gibbs car in victory lane and another Gibbs car in third, so the notebook is there. But Kyle Busch, remember, has a new team, a new crew chief, a new group of people around him, and he was definitely absent from the front of the race in Phoenix.
Yeah, I don't. You know, this is an enigma for me. I don't understand it. I honestly don't. I mean, you talk about missing practice in qualifying. I missed practice in qualifying because Kyle Busch was the highlight reel in practice in qualifying. Sideways, backwards, up against the wall, just trying to figure out what that car was going to do. But they dropped the green flag on Sunday, and they had it figured out. Without practice in qualifying, they don't have it figured out. Let's go back to last year. They just don't have it figured out. And as great a race car driver as Kyle Busch has shown us that he can be, I think it's shown also that Kyle Busch has to have a dang good race car to be a great race car driver. You know what I mean? I mean, because it is just fascinating to watch how far off they are.
Yeah.
And it really shows because their teammates are running good.
Yes, yeah. And I think you say that he has to have a good race car. He has to have a race car that is set to his field.
Exactly.
And they're not getting that. They didn't do it last year. And I always thought that Kyle Busch was that person because I still consider him, even right now, that he's the most talented driver out there. But I always thought that he could jump into anything. Kind of like Mark Martin used to do. When you'd see Mark Martin jump in that IROC car, and he'd go wax anybody and everybody from NASCAR to every other form of motorsports that got in those things.
Yeah.
And so, and you couldn't do anything to those cars. And that's the way I viewed Kyle Busch. I've changed that view since last year and watching that and the start of this year, that Kyle Busch is still the most talented, but he needs his car to have a certain feel for him to do the things that he's exceptional at. And he's not getting the opportunity to do that now. And I don't know that that's coming except for a few races. And so I'm not sure how they get there because he needs to drive these cars as fast as he has in the past. He's got to be able to, I'm not going to say be hands-on, but get them to change what is needed for him to do those things.
Yeah, and I'm going to add to that where I think, like Dale said, your view has changed a little bit. My view has changed a little bit to say that Kyle Busch is a smarter race car driver when it comes to setting up the car and figuring out what he wants than I ever gave him credit for. I just thought he got in it and let his talent overwhelm the car and carry the car. No, he was smart enough to talk to Adam Stevens, to talk to his past crew chiefs and say, this is what I'm looking for, and find that feel. So I give him a lot of credit for being a lot smarter than, as a driver, understanding the car than I ever gave him before.
Well, and we showed the highlight, Ross Chastain getting to the back of Kyle, him spinning out. That definitely cost him some positions, but it didn't cost him 20 positions. Kyle Busch finished 25th. He wasn't going to finish in the top 5 until that accident. He was definitely outside the top 10, probably outside the top 15. So I know this sounds crazy 5 weeks in. The regular season is anything but regular. We have 5 or 6 road courses, a couple speedways, a dirt race. So there's going to be no consistency, to your point, DJ, throughout the entire summer. So if we throw the points back up, the question is there anyone on that page that we have to start saying, man, they need to pay attention? Because they were the big names up front. So you look, all the different names in yellows, 5 winners, they're in. We're not going to have 16 winners. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. But the question is, okay, I feel good about Hamlin, Keselowski, Logano. Those are simple. Let's take the right side of the page. Can Kurt Busch stay 11th with the really average performance at a CGR? The 3 has really not impressed me much. Ryan Preece, without a charter, still sitting 14th in points. You know, where are you at on the right side of this page? Any names jump out that you're concerned about?
I think the first one that jumped out, I mean, obviously Kyle Busch, they have to right this ship. You know, they've got to be better. You know, or they're going to be looking at, even if they make it into that 16. And at this rate, who knows how many winners we're going to have? You know, there might only be a couple of spots open whenever we start talking about who's going to get in and make up that 16. But when I look at this, Alex Bowman right now, he you know, didn't have a good race yesterday whatsoever. And I think that you look at that and you have to wonder, what has to be done there? You know, what do they need to change? Is he going to become, now that Clint Bowyer's gone, that guy that we're always looking at that's right there on the bubble trying to make their way in at the very last?
Yeah, and I was going to say Alex Bowman, because Alex Bowman is just...
Is it tougher with 2 teammates that have already won, or is it better?
It's tougher with 3 teammates that are kicking your butt every week. That's what it's tougher with.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, let's just throw it out there. It's tougher. Forget the wins. It's tougher with those teammates that are absolutely. And I was doing a thing the other day with Jeff Burton and maybe were we doing I don't know. Anyhow, no, Nate Ryan. I'm trying to think who I was doing. And Jeff
that
said,
was a scary trip between the ears of
I
Colorado right there.
couldn't differentiate between Nate Ryan and me with all the words that he used.
and it was like, you need to be the best driver in your family.
Yeah.
And I said, I was never the best race car driver in my family, so I know what that's all about. He's not even close to being the best team or the best driver. That is a concern. And he's not been that over the last couple of years. You know what I mean? You plug and play. You plug Kyle Larson in, boom, he goes. You plug William Byron in, boom, he goes. You know, I think on a consistent basis, whether it's consistently good or bad, Alex Bowman's got to find something. He's got, and listen, I'm going to throw the 12 of Ryan Blaney in there. Just one race does not make a year, okay? And I don't know what's happened to him, where he's been the first part of this year, but I think he's another one that you've got to look at and say, what about Blaney? What's going on with this?
Yeah, this goes back to last year some too. I know Jeff Burton's staying on that trend of and I like Ryan Blaney too as a driver.
It's not,
but their adjustments aren't doing what his teammates' adjustments are doing. And this goes back to last year where they had really strong first half of the race, and then you start looking at it and they're showing the top 10 page, and he's not anywhere to be found. And so they have to figure out a way to carry that.
Well, you know who's nowhere to be found as well as SHR. You have Kevin Harvick in 10th.
True.
Cole Custer right next to him, not the right way, over there in 20th, and the 10 and the 14 nowhere in the top 20. So look, it's only 5 weeks in. We're not going to make panic yet, but the races can get away from you, as we all have figured out. I'll tell you the other thing, guys. Nice to be back at the table. As much as I love seeing y'all's pretty faces through Zoom, I'm glad to see them in person.
It is good to be here.
I love to see Kyle's confusion in person way better.
It's a lot better
than over the computer. It's going to be a fun
better.
season. 5 weeks in, we're back at the table. We're going to continue to be back at the table. NASCAR America Motormouths, kind of all season long. I can't wait to get the fans to call back in.
Yeah.
I know you have a few out there you can't wait to hear from.
That's Carl, man. Yeah, I got him. I'm waiting for him, man.
All right, NASCAR America Motormouths. Each week, tune in. Let us know what topics you love. It's going to be a fun season of racing.
Hey Motorsports fans, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe before you go for all the latest news and highlights across motorsports.